Hello everyone! In this lesson we're going to learn about routes or URLs inside of Laravel. Let's jump right into the action. So in our previous lesson we created this Laravel projects folder, and inside it we had two example Laravel projects. Right now, why don't we go ahead and create one more new Laravel project. Don't worry, we're not just going to endlessly keep creating, practice new projects. I just want to create one more project, and this new one will be the one that we build within for the entire remainder of this course. So in my command line, I'll just point towards cd space, I'll point towards my Laravel projects folder, and then I'll say composer, create dash project, Laravel/Laravel, and then let's make up a name of our main app, right? So that's the folder name I'm choosing. This is going to be the app that we build together step by step throughout the remainder of this course. So I'm going to press enter. That should only take maybe 20 seconds. Cool. So in my Laravel projects folder here, we have our main app. If you want to, you can go ahead and delete these other two Laravel projects, right? So our first app, I'll delete it. Another test app. I just wanted you to be familiar with the process of, creating separate apps in case there are different things that you want to build and experiment with. But this is going to be the main folder that we work on for the remainder of the course. So let's go ahead and open up our main app in VS Code. Cool, so I've opened up our main app. We can see the Laravel folders such as app, bootstrap, config. Right now, let's go ahead and get the server up and running. So you just open up your command line, and then it's PHP artisan serve. Okay, and then remember in your web browser, up in the address bar, you can visit localhost :8000, or you can also visit 127.0.0.1 :8000. This might be faster on Windows-based computers. Either way, we can access our site. Now, back in VS Code, there are so many different Laravel files and folders, it can be intimidating to know where to begin, right? Because we want to start to understand what's actually going on here. Well, it's my opinion that the best place to start to begin our understanding is inside this folder called routes. So open up that folder, and then I want you to jump into this file that's called web.php. So this file is where you and I spell out all of the different routes or URLs or pages that we want our website or application to have. So by default, a brand new empty Laravel project just has this one homepage route that we see down here. So in web development, a / like this just means the root of the domain, right? So that's what you see when you just visit the homepage URL. However, what if you and I wanted an about the company or about us page, so that when you visited, /about at the end of the address bar, we would want it to take you to an about page? Well, let me show you how we would set that up. So back in this file, down at the very bottom, right below this route, let's just copy and use this as sort of a blueprint. We can actually type it out just for your own understanding. So uppercase route is a Laravel class. We don't have to create it, we're just leveraging it. It's actually imported for us automatically up at the top here. So remember in a previous lesson we learned about composer and auto loading. So Laravel sees that it already had this line of code where we're trying to use this namespace. Laravel is going to automatically import all of the files that we need. So we can just magically, use this class. And then in PHP, if you say : you can call a static function or method within that class. So we're using the get method. At the very end of that line, let's end it with a semicolon. Now, if you're wondering what the get method is, this is just referring to a get request versus a post request versus a delete request, so on and so forth. So when you send different requests in your web browser, well, the default type of request when you just visit a URL is a get request, right? Your browser's trying to get the resource at that URL. But when you submit a form, right, imagine you fill out a form with your details and then you click the submit button, your browser is usually going to send a post request, right? Browsers can also send delete requests, so on and so forth. So a GET request is just sort of the standard, trying to view a web page type of request. So when a visitor sends a GET request to the blank URL, so the first argument is quotes, and then it would be /about. So that's the first argument. The second argument, so comma, you just give it a function that should run when someone visits this route. So we can provide an anonymous function. We can just say function, parentheses, curly brackets, just like this. I'm going to drop down inside or in between the curly brackets. Now don't worry, in a future lesson, we will learn about how to return a view and what a view even is and what the Blade template engine is. But let's learn how to walk before we worry about how to run. So let's start really simple. In the body of our function down here, let's literally just return a simple string of text. So return and then single quotes, end the line with a semicolon. Don't worry, we would not do this in the real world. I just want a really easy, simple example for you to be able to walk through right now. So in these quotes, let's maybe just have, a heading level 1 that says about page. Close out the heading level 1, and then let's just have a link that links back to the home page, right? So in HTML, this is what a link would look like. You got the opening A tag with the href attribute, the closing A tag. Let's have the link text say, back to home. And then instead of a hashtag, let's have the quote value just be / for the home page. So check this out. If we go ahead and save this, and then back in the browser, now you can go up into the address bar, and because we said for the first argument /about, we can now visit that route or URL. So up here we can say at the very end, after the 8000 /about. Press enter. Beautiful. We see that page. We can click this link to go back to the home page. Cool. Really quick, why don't we adjust the home page so that instead of seeing this default Laravel screen, you and I can customize what you see there. So again, you would never just have a string like this in the real world. Don't worry, in just 1 or 2 lessons, we will learn how to create a proper template in Laravel. But for now, I would just copy this line. In this homepage route, I would just replace this return view line, just delete that, paste in your clipboard, and then you could change this heading level 1 to say homepage, and then you could change this link to say, view the about page, and then change the link value for the href to /about. You can save that, refresh, and congratulations, now you have a website with 2 pages that are linked together. This is the essence of the entire web. So where do we go from here? Well, oftentimes you're going to want to do something that's way more complex than just, a heading level 1 and a link. For example, on your home page, you could imagine that you might want to do all sorts of things like load data from a database and check to see if the current visitor has an account with you. Maybe pull in information from a third-party API, right? You might want to do 10 or 20 different things to get the homepage response ready, right? You're probably not just going to send them a static bit of HTML. You're probably going to want to do all sorts of dynamic, flexible, powerful things. And the point that I'm getting at here is, imagine if you did have 20 things that you wanted to do before you sent back your response. That's going to be a decent amount of code. And maybe you don't want your routes file to get messy. So in the name of staying organized, it's a best practice to house these functions that we're going to call in a separate file entirely, right? Because imagine if this function was 50 lines of code or 20 lines of code. We want our routes file that we're in, this web.php file, this file should just be simple and clean. It should list out all of our different URL patterns. Because an application can have a lot of different routes. Imagine some of them will be dynamic even. So instead of just, a slash for the homepage or, /about, when we have blog posts, a URL might look like this, right? So it's /post, and then this is how you can have a dynamic part of the URL, but it would be like the ID number of the post or, the slug of the post. Or imagine if you had like user profile. So it would probably be /profile, and then, this part would be the username, like /Brad or /meowsalot. So the point is, this file is where you spell out all of your different routes for your application. So we want this file to be clean and minimal. So back to the point here. Remember when I said that if there's complexity in your application, one of these functions might be, 20 or 30 lines of code, and you want to keep that in a separate file? The question is, well, what would we call that separate file? The answer is that it's a controller. So in our very next lesson, we're going to learn about a more organized way of handling all of this, and we're going to answer the question, what in the world is a controller? Let's keep our momentum rolling, and I will see you in the next lesson.